Unsung Heroes of World War II – Spotlight on African Soldiers' Contributions. When we think of World War II heroes, names like Churchill, Roosevelt, and Patton often come to mind. But what about the millions of African soldiers who fought on multiple fronts, whose courage and sacrifice helped turn the tide of the war? Today, we're shining a spotlight on the forgotten warriors whose stories deserve to be told. I'm Vasco, and in the next 10 minutes, we'll journey across 3 continents to uncover the remarkable contributions of African soldiers in World War II. From the mountains of Italy to the jungles of Burma, from the deserts of North Africa to the factories of Detroit, we'll discover how these unsung heroes changed the course of history. Over 1.2 million African soldiers served in various capacities during World War II. Their stories have been largely overlooked in mainstream historical narratives, but their impact was undeniable. Let's start with the African colonies. Both Britain and France heavily recruited from their African territories, mobilizing hundreds of thousands of soldiers. The King's African Rifles, drawn primarily from Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, became one of the most effective fighting forces in the East African Campaign. These soldiers didn't just fight on their home continent, they were deployed to Burma, where they played a crucial role in pushing back Japanese forces. In the dense jungles of Burma, African troops proved invaluable. Their experience with tropical diseases, their knowledge of jungle warfare, and their incredible endurance made them formidable opponents against the Japanese. The 11th East African Division fought alongside British forces in some of the WWII's most brutal jungle battles. Take the story of Company Sergeant Major Nigel Gray Leakey of the King's African Rifles. During the Burma campaign, Leakey single-handedly attacked a Japanese machine gun position, allowing his company to advance. He was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross, one of the highest military honors, but his name remains largely unknown. Outside military circles, French colonial forces tell an equally compelling story. The tirailleurs Senegalese soldiers recruited from across French West Africa fought in some of World War II's most decisive battles. At Monte Cassino in Italy, one of the war's bloodiest battles, French Moroccan troops and other African colonial forces were instrumental in breaking through German defensive lines that had held for months. Their mountain warfare expertise and fierce determination helped Allied forces finally capture this strategic position. Now let's cross the Atlantic to examine the contributions of African American soldiers who faced a unique challenge, fighting for freedom abroad while confronting segregation and discrimination at home. The Tuskegee Airmen are perhaps the most famous African American unit of World War II, but their story is worth retelling. These pilots flew over 15,000 combat sorties, destroyed 261 enemy aircraft, and had one of the lowest bomber loss rates of any escort group. They've proved definitively that African American pilots could match or exceed the performance of their white counterparts. Colonel Benjamin O. Davis, JRB, who led the Tuskegee Airmen, later became the first African American general in the U.S. Air Force. But during the war, he and his men faced constant prejudice, even as they risked their lives for their country. Less famous, but equally crucial, was the Red Ball Express, a truck convoy system that kept Allied forces supplied during the rapid advance across France after D-Day. About 75% of the drivers were African American soldiers. They drove day and night, often under enemy fire, delivering essential supplies that kept the Allied advance moving. The 761st Tank Battalion, known as the Black Panthers, fought in the Battle of the Bulge and other major European campaigns. Despite being one of the most effective tank units in the war, they received little recognition at the time. It wasn't until 1997 that the unit was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation. These soldiers returned home to a country that still denied them basic civil rights. Many historians argue that their service and sacrifice became a catalyst for the civil rights movement that would transform America in the decades following the war. Resistance and support roles. African contributions to World War II extended far beyond formal military service. Across occupied Africa and beyond, resistance movements played crucial roles in undermining Axis powers. In Ethiopia, which had been occupied by Italian forces since 1935, local resistance fighters worked closely with British forces to liberate their country. Ethiopian patriots, as they were known, provided crucial intelligence and conducted guerrilla operations that tied down Italian troops who might otherwise have been deployed elsewhere. During the North African campaign, local knowledge proved invaluable. African guides and scouts helped Allied forces navigate treacherous desert conditions and locate crucial water sources. Their intelligence networks provided vital information about Axis troop movements. Africa's economic contributions were equally significant. The continent provided essential raw materials: copper from northern Rhodesia, gold from South Africa, rubber from Liberia. African miners, farmers, and factory workers kept the war machine running. We must also acknowledge African women's contributions. They served as nurses, worked in munitions factories, and maintained crucial supply lines. In many cases, they kept entire communities functioning while men were away fighting. So why don't we know these stories better? The answer lies in the complex politics of the post-war period. Many African soldiers returned to colonies still under European control. Their military service had exposed them to ideas about freedom and equality that colonial authorities found threatening. Instead of being celebrated as heroes, many faced suspicion and surveillance. Similarly, African American veterans returned to a segregated America. Despite their service, they were often denied the benefits and recognition accorded to white veterans. The GI Bill, which helped transform American society, was largely denied to African American veterans, particularly in the South. Only in recent decades have historians and governments begun to properly acknowledge these contributions. Memorial sites have been established, documentaries produced, and some veterans have finally received long overdue honors. The psychological impact cannot be understated. These soldiers gained confidence in their abilities, developed leadership skills, and formed networks that would prove crucial in post-war independence movements across Africa and civil rights struggles in America. The African soldiers of World War II, whether from the colonies, America, or resistance movements, didn't just contribute to Allied victory. They helped reshape the world that emerged from the war. Their courage under fire, their sacrifice in the face of discrimination, and their determination to fight for freedom despite being denied it at home represent some of humanity's finest moments. These stories matter not just as historical footnotes, but as reminders of the complex truths about who fights for freedom and at what cost. As we remember World War II, let's ensure these unsung heroes finally receive the recognition they've always deserved. What other forgotten stories from World War II do you think deserve more attention? Let me know in the comments below. And if this video taught you something new, please like and subscribe for more untold stories from history. Next week, we'll be exploring the role of women resistance fighters in occupied Europe. Until then, keep questioning what you think you know about history at History Motion Machine.